we want to wait a couple of minutes to get the link in, that's why.
That call covered. Camera
Having
problem.
those connectivity issues, so we'll be right on.
That's exactly right.
That's me for now.
Yeah.
Devin rather than camera.
Yeah.
Want to call my 12-year-old grandson?
There you go. It's not synced. And no, you have these.
You got a techie in the family.
Reset it.
Okay. Will do. Okay.
All right, hold on.
The old control delete. 18 million years later.
When in doubt, close
Yeah.
it out.
Just close the thing out. We did this in the 80s.
Say, you come down to my job.
Okay.
Come for a visit or stay for eternity.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, got you a point. I know exactly what you got.
All right, I think we're ready.
All right.
So what's the second delay?
Okay. Would you please turn off your cell phones as they interfere with the taping mechanism, and it's just rude. The meeting will now come to order. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act has been that on January 19, 2023, a copy of notice specifying the date, time, and location was posted on the bulletin board outside of Borough Hall, given to the clerk administrator, mailed, faxed, or emailed to the Courier News, and put on the borough's website. If any member thinks that this meeting is being held in violation of the Open Public Meeting Act, please state your views at this time. Hearing none. This meeting is of a judicial proceedings. Only those items on the agenda will be discussed, and proper judicial decorum will be maintained. Next item, roll call, please.
Chairman Dare?
Here.
Mr. Abbott? Ms. Cardenas?
Here.
Mr. McLaughlin? Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Budinsky?
Here.
Mr. Flores?
Here.
Mr. Alvarez?
Here.
Mr. Daniels?
Here.
We have a quorum. Does anybody have any conflicts? Okay. So- Okay. So we have a 6 for that. Would someone like to move that the Ed and Morgan's absence to be recorded as excused? Move second, all in favor? Okay, next item, resolutions. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is the minutes for the July 19th meeting. Would someone like to move them?
I'll move them.
The regular meeting minutes was moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just a comment,
Yes.
I was not here for that meeting. I did look at the 73 West End Avenue hearing on YouTube. I don't know whether that counts or not.
Yeah, it does now. It's like when we do the,
You watched the observe the meeting?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's, I believe under these circumstances, I think you're all right.
Okay.
yeah, we used to do it on Go TV.
Right, I
When
just
we
want
get
to
the
put that out.
DVD. Someone like to move the minutes of the executive session?
So moved.
Move. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution for Somerville, for the, sign.
Someone else, Somerville Lane Holdings.
Yes, one else. Somerville.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Moved, seconded, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chairman Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Cardenas?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes, it's a yes for denial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Budinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Flores?
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Daniels?
Yes.
Okay, there was a suggestion from Mr. O'Neill that we take Somerset Medical Center first. How long will it take for your applications? What's the presentation for Barbara Wood, Johnson, Warren?
I would think no more than 10, 15 minutes.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, please.
Like to move that? You come first.
Good evening, Chairman and Board members. My name is John DeLuca. On behalf of the applicant, RWJ Wellness Health.
You have a conflict?
Yeah, sure.
You should leave the room.
So the subject property is located at 453 Ring Street. That's,
You're gonna have to sworn.
no, I'm the attorney.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. I will have two witnesses that need to be sworn in, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So this block 81 lot 1.011. We're seeking several C1 hardship variances for wall sign location, number of wall signs, wall sign size, that's height and width, and then wall sign area. I would also just like to place on the record that as a zoning board of adjustment for the borough of Somerville, this body has jurisdiction and authority to hear this matter. Additionally, all required notices of this hearing have been served or published so that any interested or impacted parties who wish to appear may be heard on this matter may do so. The property is located in two zones, actually. That's in the B4 zone, the R2 zone. We already have an existing building on the property, and we previously appeared before this board on amended site plan application. We're here tonight to propose two wall signs. And really, although we are seeking one variance for the B4 zone, all of the other variances, number of wall sign size, height and width, and wall sign area are all due to there being a small portion of the property being located in that R2 residential zone. The applicant has had the benefit of reviewing Mr. Cole's report dated July 25th. And with that in mind, we will have two witnesses, as I stated. First, you'll hear from Mr. Robert M. Scarola as a fact witness. He's a professional who designed the signs. He's also the president of County Graphic Solutions. Mr. Scarola will describe the dimensions and locations of the signs and how they will be attached to the building. Then you'll hear from Mr. Jay Byspiel, a fact witness who is the project manager for the applicant. Mr. Byspiel will explain the purpose and the necessity of these signs. Unless the board has any further housekeeping items, I request that my first witness be called up and sworn in to testify.
Do we have an easel or something?
We actually have a couple.
We'd love to borrow that.
Oh, thank you, Brian. It's great.
Have set up already.
Just so everybody can see, I worry about that.
You could wear. On this side?
Yeah.
For the camera? Yeah.
Thank you kindly for the West Main Street. Will that block the,
We're gonna set it up over
I
here.
think I would do it here, sir, if you don't mind. Yeah, because it'll,
Okay.
we want the public to be able to see what's going on. And then I'll swear you in. Thank you. Would you raise your right hand, please? Would you stand, please? Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Robert Scarola, Scarola.
Thank you, Mr. Scarola. Counsel, your witness, sir.
All right. I will just note that the exhibit we have displayed that next to us is exhibit we'll mark as A1, and each of the board members has been provided a smaller size copy of this exhibit. So, Mr. Scarola, what can you tell us about the number of signs, dimensioning signs, and what went into your design?
Mr. Scarola, what's your background?
I am the president of County Graphics Business Solutions. We are the preferred sign vendor for RWJ Wellness Health. We've been in the sign business for about 15 years.
Okay.
So, as I was asking, could you just describe what went into the design of this sign?
Sure. So this is part of the Barnabas Health, medical group, offices or medical practices that we've been doing across the state of New Jersey for many years. So there's an established RWJ Barnabas Health brand that we adhere to. So we work with their corporate marketing team to make sure that we do honor the brand marketing guidelines. So the RWJ Barnabas Health logo that we're displaying here is the brand logo that we have fabricated and installed on all of their signs, all their buildings, their signs, hospitals, medical offices, things like that. And they're all basically the same standard internally illuminated channel letters. Sometimes we'll do light boxes, things like that.
Okay, and can you tell us about the dimensions of the sign? Or signs, I should say?
In regards to just the size, we're looking at it.
Yeah,
simple,
height.
Yeah, it's simple, 2 foot high by 109 inches wide, fit within the gable on the building. The front of the building, which I think is in that B4 zone, that is an internally illuminated channel letter set that is not on a raceway, so individual channel letters will be mounted directly to the facade of the building. The second sign, which is also equal in size, is not internally illuminated. That is just simple flat cut acrylic letters mounted to the, I guess the R2 zone side of the building, the back of the building.
Okay, and what can you tell us about the depth or projection of these signs off the building?
So for the channel letter set, I believe there was, the code restriction was no more than 8 inches from the building. As you can see, there's a dimension on that larger display there. We are 5 inches in depth for the channel letter set, and only 1/2 inch in depth on the acrylic letter set on the back.
Now, you mentioned that the front-facing sign that faces the B4 zone, that will be internally illuminated?
Correct.
How does that operate?
So that's just low voltage internally illuminated LED lighting, so it's very soft lighting. Just requires 120 volts, nothing substantial. So if someone's driving by, it's not like a neon sign where it's going to be blinding to anyone, driving by in a car or anything like that. So again, like I said, it's very soft lighting from internal illumination.
Okay, and the sign to the rear of the building that is still in the B4 zone but facing the R2 zone, you mentioned that's not internally illuminated?
It is not.
Are there going to be any lights shined on that sign?
Not as far as I know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't believe I have any further questions for you unless any members of the board would like to ask this witness about specifications as to the size and
Anybody from the
design.
board have any questions on the testimony just given? Anyone from the?
I do, I have a question. Let's do go first.
Yeah, is the light going to be on 24/7 for the one that's facing?
No, that's a good question. Actually, the sign will have a timer, like all the signs do. So if there's any time or restrictions that the town dictates as far as whether it be 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, that light has to be off, then the time will be set to those parameters.
And the sign that's not illuminated is facing the house, it's on the northern side of the facade, correct?
Correct.
All right, that makes sense. So the one facing William Street is the one going to be illuminated?
Yes.
Is the LED, you can make it dimmable, so it's designed so we can do a field check, adjust the illumination accordingly?
It's something that we can look to do. Typically, the signs do not have dimmers set to them, but it is something that could be done.
Yeah, normally on custom signs, it's really difficult to get the foot candle data from it. So what we've done in the past is make it, should the board approve it, a condition of approval just with a light meter and adjust the illumination in the field. That eliminates a lot of paperwork.
Okay.
If that's acceptable. It's LED, sure, it should be.
That's something we can consider.
Yes, great.
Anyone from the audience have any questions on the testimony just given?
Okay.
Then I'd like to call up and have my next witness sworn in to testify.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record, sir.
J. Weisfield, B as in boy, E-I-S-P-I-E-L.
Thank you, Mr. Vicefield. Counsel, your witness, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Vicefield, what is your position with RWJ Barnabas Health?
So I'm a project manager for design and construction projects, corporate employee, if you will, for the organization.
Okay, and what can you tell us about the need for these signs?
So all of our medical practices, actually all of our buildings in general, but I've been doing a lot of medical practice for the organization. We do signage on all of our practices, serving as a wayfinding tool for all of our patients, either current patients or new patients finding the building. In this case, this was a practice that was kind of around the corner and then got relocated to this new facility. So a lot of patients have to be able to find where our building is. So we do our branding on these buildings for that reason. And the other reason is neighborhoods and towns like to have a healthcare facility in their areas. So we find it's a benefit really to the whole neighborhood to be in there. That's the purpose for our sign.
Okay, and were similar signs posted on the previous location?
I can't speak to what was on the previous location. I'm not really sure.
And is it correct that your employer, RWJ Barnabas Health, operates every aspect of the site?
Yes, we are actually a tenant. We are leasing the building. The building is not owned by us. I don't know the lease period. I think it's rather long enough. And we do manage and operate and maintain the building completely.
So if there were any other conditions on the property that needed to be remediated, whether they had to do with these signs or not, you would be available to remediate those issues?
Yes, we have a facilities group that manages a lot of our doctor's offices, if you will, the medical group side of RWJ Barnabas Health that operates and maintains any aspect of the building.
You're leasing the whole building, correct?
The entire building, the site, parking,
Very
all
good.
of it.
Okay.
We're the
Just wanna
only
get that on the
tenant.
record.
Only tenant.
I have no further questions for this witness unless the board has any further questions.
Anybody from the board have any questions?
I just had one, there's some debris and some landscaping instead out there. Some debris behind the dumpster. I was wondering if you could address the debris, and there's 2 dead trees. That's on general comments number 1.
Okay. I will certainly take note of that. And dead trees, I guess, happens from time to time, but I can talk to our management group about that. And certainly debris doesn't belong there, so we wouldn't want to see that either.
Well, it's a hazard. You wouldn't want to have it. It can cause you some trouble from a legal standpoint.
Again, if it's debris, it's probably not from us necessarily, so. maybe
No, I
the
think it's
building
the
owner about
construction
that.
of the building.
Correct.
Right. May have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
I will certainly look into that. Thank you for bringing that up.
And is it fair to represent to the board that if the board were to make cleaning up the debris or replacing any of those trees a condition of approval, that we would be able to consent to that?
Absolutely.
One more question. I mean, I reviewed Mr. Cole's report. I generally ask that in terms of conditions and recommendations in his report are a condition of approval as well. Is that agreeable to the applicant?
Yes, that is agreeable to you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone from the audience have any questions of the testimony just given?
All right, thank you. If I could just briefly make a summation.
Let's close the public portion.
Oh, my
So
apologies.
one want to move that we close the public portion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
All right, very much appreciated. My brief summation is simply that as this property straddles 2 zoning districts, I would contend that it is a per se hardship satisfying one prong of a C2 variance. And as both of my witnesses testified, this RWJ Health sign is a brand standard across all medical facilities that RWJ Barnes is health manages and operates. Furthermore, it signals to the neighborhood and the community that this is a medical facility so that when patients are trying to find their healthcare provider, it can be immediately identified. So we contend that that satisfies the positive criteria of the C1 standard. With nothing further, I invite any further comments or discussion from the board.
Anybody have any comments?
It's a good idea. People have to find the building. And I think the sign that's in the back that's not lighted is fine for the neighbors, which is always their concern. The one in the front looking at a pizza shop doesn't make any difference. So I think overall it's a positive as opposed to a negative, and it's good to have one solid tenant in the building when today tenants are hard to find.
Especially since the pizza shop is owned by the same guy.
Right,
This
exactly.
building.
Yeah, that's another issue.
Mr. Calandre is finally happy, he's got a tenant.
Yeah.
About 100 years ago, I was a 19-year-old technician working on the South As this little old man wearing a Colombo raincoat walks in the plant, like, how'd you get in here? I said, my name is General Robert Wood Johnson, and I own this place. Want to have coffee? I was impressed. Yes, let's go do it. About 6 months later, I was down at headquarters. I see him. I waved. He waved back. I said, "Okay, he remembered me, I think." And when I go to a hospital, I said, "You're probably the only one in this hospital who ever had a coffee with Robert Wood Johnson." It's a long time ago. I like it. I like it. How you feel, Stu?
Yeah. Robert Wood, does he have part ownership in the Jets still?
That's what that's a sign. What do you have, Cliff?
Just one question, is the sign, we're talking about the sign, is the sign on a timer or something like this, or will it be,
Yes.
so it will not show 24/7, 360, okay.
It won't be lit 24/7.
Very good.
Specific hours. We don't want it on.
That's fine,
And you brought up the point about the non-lit sign at the back of the building. That is exactly why we did that. Because that does face the neighbors.
Yes.
It's one of my questions, but.
And also that the building is a little reversed in its design because all the parking is in the back of the building. So you only see the front of the building when you're driving by looking for it. So we wanted our branding to be on the back when people are parking, so they're sure that they know where they're going. And not lighting it because it makes the neighbors.
It is a quiet intersection after 9 o'clock. It really does get busy over there. And then you have the Rite Aid, which is diagonally across. I mean, as long as the light is on a timer, or like it's not lit 24/7.
Yeah, that's right. It will go off at a certain hour.
Sure.
We'll determine what that is exactly. Obviously, for it just be on all night.
Brian, yeah.
I have no problems.
Rick? Rich?
Good to go.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
That's all you have, Cliff?
That's all we have. The only conditions I have are cleaning up the property you discussed in the call report. That was it. Compliance with the call report, so we're good.
Someone like to move approval of this application? Move.
Conditions set forth on the record and our standard conditions of approval.
Move, seconded. Roll call, please.
Chairman Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Videnski?
Yes.
Mr. Flores?
Yes.
Mr. Daniels?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next application, 40 West Main Street.
You can leave up there if you want that.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna use it.
Thanks.
All of them.
Is the building on fire?
What happened?
Where you gotta go, you gotta
When you go get her.
I don't know.
go. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They know something we don't
Yeah,
know.
let's go get.
Hey, Michael scared her away.
I know.
Well, you saw my best research in there, so those things happen.
Where's Eric? Got a friend again. Okay, ready to run.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mike O'Grodnick. I'm an attorney at Savo Shaw, Corsini, Warner, Gillespie, O'Grodnick, and Fisher here in Somerville on behalf of the applicant, 40 West Main LLC, 50 West Main LLC. This is an application for a property located at Lot 113, lots 3 to 25 on the borough tax map, which, like the last application, is located in a split zone. Subject property is in the B1 and also the POR zone districts for the parking area. It's in the central business district. It's right on Main Street. We've been before this board a couple of times in the past. Originally, we were before the planning board for Village Brewing when we did that project. Boy, it was 6 years ago now. And then we were also before this board when we eliminated the TD Bank canopy and just put some more parking in there, which I think was a significant decrease in intensity from that prior drive-through use. This application seeks to advance with a residential development on the upper floors of this building. This building's at least 120 years old, while to continue to provide, of course, the retail and the restaurant space on the ground level. This application proposes the conversion to 8 one-bedroom apartments on the second and third floors. Those one-bedroom apartments range in size from approximately 605 square feet to 665 square feet. For the third floor, our architect has designed loft type apartments. They are still one bedroom, where the bedroom is located on the upper elevation that overlooks the living room with that additional ceiling height. These one bedroom apartments will range in size 798 feet and 850 square feet. The residential tenants, and why we include the residential lot, we have a great benefit of our owner owning the parking lot, and we've agreed to deed restrict and designate for no cost, no additional monthly cost, built into the rent, the necessary parking spaces, 14, which is 14, with the appropriate signage at a ratio, which is a ratio of 1.8 parking spaces per unit, which is similar, or I would say above some of the apartments in town. For purposes of improvements, there's really no site improvement, no substantial site improvements. We do have Craig Stires here. He is our site plan engineer, and he can answer any engineering questions. The facade of the building is intended to be renovated, replace the window on the second and third floors, applying a new stucco finish, real stucco, off-white green color. In addition, uniform canopies are intended to be installed over the storefront glass, which will give similar appearance. The apartment entrance door would be a steel fabricated canopy. And then the windows on the second and third floor windows on the north facade are all intended to be replaced. The applicant is looking to run new electrical and is looking to, and will agree to sprinkler the whole building, including basement. There were 3 potential variances identified in this application. One was for the number of parking spaces, which we've addressed and will comply with, so there's no variance for parking. There's a minor deviation from the sign height, and we can lower it 6-8 inches and comply, so we'll, of course, eliminate that variance. And then there was a question, I would say, one of the apartments was labeled studio, but it's really a separate bedroom, so we'll just correct that typo on the plans. So since this applicant can revise the application to meet all the bulk standards in the zone, this application doesn't have any variances. I've detailed in my notice the pre-existing, nonconformities related to the building that's again been there 120 years, so there's some minor deviations. Front lot footage is a short 1.5 foot. Setback is closer than to the right of way, 16 feet where 25 is proposed. Rear is 22 feet, whereas 25 feet is proposed. Tonight I have Susan DeHart and Dylan Catino. Susan DeHart is our licensed architect on the project, and then Dylan Catino is the senior project designer. So they're going to jointly present and answer any questions related to the architecture. I do have Craig Stires here to answer any questions, so I'd ask him to be sworn in, but I don't intend to bring him up as a witness unless it's necessary. And then we did retain a planner, Paul Rickey, just to go over why we think this is a real benefit. Again, office on Main Street is, small offices have a substantially significant more trip generation, parking requirement. So we think the conversion to residential makes sense. And our planner will address that testimony. We've submitted our publication affidavits, proofs, certified mailings have been submitted to the board, and unless there are any legal questions, I would ask to swear in either one or all of our witnesses.
I'd like to do it one at a time.
Mr. Wagner, what's the name of your firm again?
Savo Shock for short. And we've been in Somerville for almost 100 years.
Morton, Stewart, Davis,
Yes.
Ozard, Rizzo, Morrow, Savo,
Klein, Morrow, Savo, yep.
Oh, God.
Marianne Nearguard, Judge Nearguard.
Yep.
And who will be your first witness?
Our architects.
Yeah, we'd like to come up together. If that's
Sure.
all right.
All right. Thank goodness for those easels.
Mr. Rodnick, how long have you been with the firm?
Surprisingly, it's been 16 years.
That long, yeah. I remember when you were
First,
out the box.
I know. I used to be the head of the young lawyers, but they don't invite me anymore to that.
That's what happens. Then you start hearing from senior, you see the occult stuff,
Yeah.
and people are referring to senior attorney. Oh, thank you very much.
Wasn't your firm's office once in that building?
It was. Oh, no, it was
It's on your bank, they knocked the wall down and walked through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Morton, Stewart, Davis
It
were
wasn't
upstairs.
and then they were over on Northbridge. They combined those two properties, and that was actually one of the governors of New Jersey for a very brief time.
Yeah, Bill Lazar.
Yeah, no,
No, he was second president.
Yeah, right.
A lot of history in this town.
It is. And this is, Mr. Kavanaugh owns this and the adjacent buildings, so more to come on some great projects that we planned for this block. But if and unfortunately the planning board had it, but the Village Brewing was, I think it was a really great project.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, ladies first. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Susan D. Hart, D-E-H-A-R-T.
Very, very well, sir.
Dylan Catino, C-A-T-I-N-O.
Very well. Mr. Ogrodnik, your witnesses, welcome.
Thank you. Susan, just to qualify you as a professional, could you give the board just a brief synopsis of your professional history and your licenses?
Yes, I'm a senior project manager and architect with USA Architects here in Somerville. I've been with the company for 23 years now and licensed in New Jersey since 2009.
How's Paul?
He's doing well. He says he wants to retire.
Retirement's overrated.
Can't get them to.
So, why don't you walk us through what's there now and what's proposed for the second and third floor?
Yeah, so as Michael touched on, we're proposing to convert the current office use for the second and third floors into residential one-bedroom apartments. So those apartments will be accessed in the center of the building through a central staircase, which will be rebuilt. On the second floor is a total of 4 one-bedroom apartments, and then on the third floor is 4 loft apartments. As Michael said, they're between 600 and 850 square feet. The real attribute that we wanted to focus on with the design of the building is maintaining the characteristics of the exterior facade, the traditional detailing that currently is there. We're proposing to replace all of the windows, not only for aesthetic purposes, but obviously to make it more thermally efficient. The exterior design will be restuccoed. All of the detailing will be preserved. Currently, on the first floor retail, the storefronts are they're 2 different in terms of in nature and the characters of it. So we're proposing to create kind of some continuity on that ground level, that where the color would match the floors above it, and two signage canopies which would be illuminated and accented at night. So basically it.
Anybody from the board, any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Is there a height requirement in your office?
We're representing for the tall people today.
Don't mind him, he's wearing a suit. Okay.
Oh, no, that's fine. I think, are there any questions from members of the interested public? As the testimony of this witness?
The only question I had is, we had a meeting with the applicant, it went well yesterday, and it was just the facade improvements are on the front look fantastic, and great, the back, the windows, but the addition on the rear, if you can do something with the mechanical door. I think we discussed this briefly on the first floor, and maybe that wall, there's a kind of a beat up storage cabinet wood, but I think it's being removed. So I just don't know if you had any thoughts on it. It's really a blank wall on the first floor. As the board knows, it looks like this was a 3-story building, and sometime in the past there was an addition put on the first floor. So the first floor is maybe an extra 40, 50 feet in depth over the original building. But what I'm referring to is what's next to the alleyway. It's got a ladder, a flat roof, and it has I call it a mechanical door. It's a steel door, and that the side could use a little some eye candy there, some curb appeal. I just didn't know if you guys had any ideas of what you could do with that wall.
I mean, it looks to me like we could clean it up and kind of honor the front by doing a similar stucco treatment in the back. And I believe, we were speaking yesterday about this, and the plan is to replace that door.
Great.
So.
And there's no rear access to the apartments right now.
That's correct, because the second and third floors are only at the Main Street side of the building.
And the fire marshal is very happy because they agreed to do a 13 system throughout the building, which, as Rich would know, is a benefit to the community, for the building and its surrounding building.
Just off topic, maybe the attorney can, do you have a co-obligation on these 8 apartments?
I haven't even thought about that.
You might, but I think that's a practical matter, though to some extent that may be out of our hands, but needless to say, you'll be bound by any restrictions of co either now or in the next round to come, which God knows when that will be. So, you may be subject to that. I think that's just, we put as a condition of approval, and I think this is where it helps, that you'll have to comply with any and all other governmental governmental requirements. So COA, I'm assuming that you are subject to COA. I'm not gonna opine on it right now because I'm not special COA counsel to the municipality. But I would suspect that you are, which means that, any development that you're undertaking under the existing or proposed or revisions to the regulations, you'll be subject to. So under the conditions of approval, if we approve this, that are subject to this application, you would be bound by any COA regulations. I think that'll cover it.
Yeah, and we did discuss, school-age children impact, and it's less than one, because this was by design to be one bedrooms. So we don't think there's any significant impact to the community related to the costs for school-age children.
This is an issue that's coming up because we're getting more, with the changes in the economy, we're getting more residential applications and more residential uses being constructed. But of course, COA is, always out there. So what I'm doing for my municipalities and what others are doing is essentially saying, you're going to be subject to any changes. You're not going to grandfather out of them. If they change, you're still subject to that. So that's kind of, and I understand that's how it's being interpreted pretty much across the board. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Questions from the board? Anyone from the audience have any questions on the testimony?
Yeah, Mike, do you want me to run through the report?
Yeah,
Or do you want to?
We're gonna agree to all of your comments in there, but if you want a bullet point them, yeah.
No, I'm good. We don't have to do that. Trust me, no one wants to go through that. I don't have to.
My planner is happy that this is a variance-free application.
Yeah, to the board, no, I don't think I've seen one in over 10 years. It's not a variance-free application.
You don't see many,
Any level, because the site plan, the board maintains jurisdiction of the site plan because of the non-conformance of the parking lot.
Okay.
Right? Do you agree with that?
Exactly.
Which
The
town might want to consider allowing parking, the parking uses and principal use. Because that's what's keeping us before this board is the non-conforming parking lot. But I don't know why that use would be not permitted.
We have a good board, it's just.
Yeah.
We're very friendly.
Well, we like seeing Jim. Jim always says it will comply. I'm like,
That's great. That'll be our condition of approval.
Yeah, and we'll do and just like we did for Village, we'll do an access license agreement for the dumpster.
yeah, just reuse the same dumpster if that's agreeable.
That's what we're doing.
It's
I
there.
already have it drafted.
Right, that's what I was hinting at. It's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then someone becomes, the dumpster on the TD bike thing is being used by Village Brewing there's no space for it. So I've learned this from another applicant, you can just keep doubling up on the same dumpster, just increase the frequency. Why build another one? The owner owns the properties, why not use what you have as opposed to doing individual dumpsters? So that's what the applicant's agreeing to, is to get a license agreement so that those apartments can use the same dumpster that the brewing company.
The dumpsters come in different sizes.
It's-
Bigger.
Trucks will come more often.
And we are good with the fire and everything.
The fire guy, the fire marshal, they had a comment about repairing the ladder. And the applicant said, we're gonna take the ladder out. Now, the building is fully sprinklered, 13, and the egress codes don't require a secondary mains to the front. I don't think he's gonna have, I don't wanna speak for him, but I think the sprinkler on the 13 system for the whole building will address that.
To enhance 13R, which is.
Well, that's what we were going, but they took the thunder away by saying, no, we're just gonna do a 13 for the whole building, which is even better, Rich.
One way through to the attic?
Yeah.
That's better.
Right. So, I don't think he's gonna have an issue with the ladder. That was one of his comments.
Much better than what's there now.
Yeah,
Right, right.
really. We are the apartment capital of Central Jersey.
I see that.
More are coming.
Yeah, thanks, yeah.
Commercial is, I think, declining, and residential is getting a real shot in the arm after COVID.
I wish I could afford one.
I understand.
Well, just about. Do you have anything else?
No, I just, like to bring up our planner, Paul Ricky, just to, give about 2 minutes on planning. I know there's no variances, but,
Well, Paul likes to talk. And he talks quick usually too, so he gets a
I'm
lot
usually
in.
on point though.
Right, this is 2 minutes, I'm fine.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
It's Paul Ricky, R-I-C-C-I.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky. Mr. Brown, is your witness, sir.
Paul,
Mr. Ricky's appeared before us.
okay, what towns do you currently represent?
He's appeared before us.
Okay.
We
I'll
can
take it one
time.
I didn't know Robert Wood Johnson was a general, he just said that. I just Googled it, so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Robert Wood Johnson, David Sarnoff of RCA, what they were doing in World War II, they were drafting the icons of big business and making them generals, brigadier generals, to basically run the army in an efficient way.
I just read it, it's very interesting. They invented duct tape, Christian, I just read, because they needed it for the animal. But I'm sorry. From a planning standpoint, I mean, this is clearly a very positive application. It's one it's repurposing a building for a needed use today. I previously testified in front of this board. I think this board has recognized, you understand the paradigm shift that's going underway in terms of office and transitioning to residential, particularly in downtown areas above commercial land uses. Many downtowns haven't had it for years, really, those professional offices. Part of that's partially for people like me, smaller professionals that have the ability to telecommute, work from home, and all this new technology has started that pre-COVID for some time now. And you heard from the architect here, this is an opportunity that the town is getting some nice tasteful improvements to the building. And not only the outside of the building, but the inside of the building, you're getting public health, safety benefits associated from that water sprinkler system. So I'm a municipal planner, a very positive application. I think Mr. Cole even commented in his letter that he found the improvements to be attractive as well. The applicant was clearly, we heard from the board attorney, worked with his professionals to eliminate the previous variances while I was originally hired for this application. And there were some pre-existing non-conformings associated with this building in the lot. I just wanted to confirm and verify. None of those are being exacerbated as part of this application, so clearly not creating variances there. I was going to point out a couple goals of your master plan, but this project was really on point with your master plan. Housing goals and policies provide a range of housing types to meet varied resident populations needs, as well as to preserve established residential areas and to promote redevelopment by establishing redevelopment areas, locate housing in select locations within around the CBD, stimulate business and retail activity, and it goes on. I can read 20 of them. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it, I was kind of popping around my testimony, but currently statewide, you're looking at a little over a 20% office vacancy rate today. So generally speaking, you don't create new office space or build new office space when there's existing office space, unless you're Apple or somebody has very specific needs out there that would build their own campus. It's clearly, when you're downtown as a planner, I know this is an area where you want to focus development. This is not a preservation area, and I think as a planner that for downtowns, it's important for them to remain vibrant. And having residents in the downtown clearly helps businesses and the like. Having vacant office space is not something that's productive for a downtown. So it helps create the downtowns, helps with its vibrancy. Here, again, we have adequate off-street parking. The applicant has agreed to, well, I say, bundle that parking with the unit so someone doesn't have to pay extra money for parking. I'm a municipal planner. Boards that I represent say the same thing, because it eliminates the potential for someone saying, hey, I'm not going to pay that $50 or $100 and I'm gonna park in the street and take my chances. So that's not an issue here. Also, I would just point out that office uses, while they're exempt from your parking standards because they're in the downtown, generally speaking, the demand for an office parking space versus a one-bedroom residential space is greater. So the trips, as a planner, I know associated with office compared to residential is more. So from an intensity standpoint, this is a project that technically lowers the intensity, the demand on parking, and the number of trips as well. So based on this, I think it's clear that we're going to advance the town's goals rather than detract from them. And I just want to point out as well, I talked about there is a high vacancy rate of office space, there's a tremendous need for housing. And here, I call it workforce housing, middle income housing. I'll say that, country, New Jersey Future, everyone know what New Jersey Future is? It's a public think tank. They reported in July 2022 that nationally we're millions of housing units short. And they talked about New Jersey is proportionally on a greater need. And they literally said in the article, if New Jersey wants to be able to continue to welcome and retain people of all income levels, it needs to produce more multifamily housing at a scale and preserve existing affordable housing today. For these reasons,
concurs with that as well.
yeah. So, I mean, this is an application that really serves the public need. While we're not seeking any variances, it does support multiple purposes of the municipal land use law. Number one, it does promote, it provides purpose G, provides sufficient space to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. Also, this is being provided at a density and intensity that's anticipated by ordinance. So, purpose E, promote the establishment of appropriate population densities. From a negative standpoint, because we're not seeking any variances, just on, I don't want to say a legal basis, but on a planning basis, for that reason, we're not creating any negative impacts to surrounding property owners, the public good, nor impairing the intent and purpose of the zone plan. So it's a very positive application. I hope I wasn't too.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. No further questions.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Ricky? No. Anyone from the audience have any questions? Anyone have any comments? It's on you, Mr. Rodriguez.
I have nothing really in closing. We just look forward to the continued working with the town. Somerville's been great to work with in my tenure here, and there's some great things on the horizon. We appreciate this.
Yeah.
We appreciate the board, all your volunteer time, and rest on our testimony.
You're not going anywhere, are you?
Yep.
That's us, what I want to hear.
10-year lease.
Indentured servitude, anyone, someone move to close the public portion?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Hi, Greg Storms. I would like to say I'd like to support this project. I agree that I like to see when people want to come to town and invest money into the town of Somerville and building apartments where we have vacant buildings. As you all know, we've done this many times, and I would like to say I agree with a lot with the planner said, and I would like to support this project.
Thanks, Brad. Anyone else? Someone like to move to close the public portion? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Cliff, what do you have?
The only condition that, or conditions would be they'll comply with the Michael Cole report and that there'll be an access license agreement for the dumpster. That's as access license or
That's what we did for Village.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's right. And also, well, they've already affirmatively represented that, but the easement for the parking spaces.
Yes, 14 spaces will be deed restricted, so that they will always.
It's really not a condition of approval. If you want, we'll put it in as.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I'd like to say, I've never seen an application where Craig has said no.
Yeah, really.
I don't think this has ever happened, ever.
Put that down.
Variance free, right?
No, the testimony has been very, candid with you. It's all been affirmative. We haven't had to hold anybody's feet to the fire. And that's why, there aren't a lot of conditions on this one. Sometimes we have 25 conditions, so.
That was easy. Well, someone like to move it?
I'll move it.
Move?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, it's a good idea. That building's there. I'm gonna call it an eyesore, but damn close to an eyesore for a long time. And this will put life in that section of the block, which is filled up nicely.
Yeah.
Just got one bank to deal with. But it's real positive. And I think it aligns nicely with the workforce housing, I think, close to the parking you're seeing. Where it's providing housing for people that might not be able to buy it, rent from Somerville, so I think it's good.
I think it was good. You had me at free parking.
Yeah, free parking is huge.
I mean, it's an issue that we've been talking about with the boards, and to be able to provide them for your tenants is very important to me.
It's an issue that's starting to come around in a number of towns because charging for the parking essentially detracts from the affordability. And, affordable housing advocates are up in arms over it, and municipal groups also are as well. It's kind of a backdoor, if you will, and it's in many respects not appropriate.
Yeah, because
Just my professional opinion.
what happens next is a guy with an application for a duplex comes in and charges tenants $200 a month.
Right. Well, that's why we have to scrutinize, when this board scrutinizes, some of the boards don't. I know, like, I might ask questions in a board meeting and people will look at me cross-eyed, and to be candid with you, it's something that is beginning to become a problem. And then when the applicant says, oh yeah, well, I plan on charging X number of dollars for each parking spot, it's a cost of doing business. The board then generally says, wait a minute, I thought you told me these were affordable units, type of thing. So this board is ahead of the curve on that.
Also, it's a great place to watch the Memorial Day parade and bike races. I did say parade.
I'm curious,
Huh?
do you know what the projected rents will be for the one-bedroom apartments? I don't idea.
I don't know. Market rate.
This is a high market. Okay, anybody else on the board?
Okay, we need a second.
It's moved, Roberta seconded. Roll call.
Chairman Litt,
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Kaminsky,
Yes.
Mr. Flores,
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Daniels.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
I'll coordinate the preparation of the resolution with your office.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Is there any other business coming before the board?
Ad hoc, right?
No, we gotta go to executive.
Right.
Okay, great.
Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good.
Okay, good work, you're all.
Jim,
Please
when you get time, you gotta talk to Rick.
Ms. McNeil, please presentation.
Thank you very much.
The board will comply, it's not come out of his mouth. The way out.
That's good.
That's the cool part of this. Yeah. Be able to go around town and see stuff.
You see things that years ago, we did what's that?
Yeah. That's cool.
Rich, you had questions about the ad hoc?
Yeah, I never heard that term before. I'd like to know what it means.
Well, my understanding is the Latin says
Oh, I looked at that, no.
The history was, the applicant met with the mayor, met with the portions of the redevelopment.
I'm not
committee.
asking about that.
Yes.
Ad hoc committee, can this board set up an ad hoc committee? I've been here a couple of years.
The board didn't do it.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Who figures out who's on it? Who designates the people? I just have no idea what it's all about.
What had happened is the board directed the applicant to work with my office, so to do a redo.
Right.
So what happened was a redo, to do the whole thing over again. So we had 2 weeks to get things going. It was back to the board next month.
Yeah.
Do a redo on the design. So this immediately came to me. I immediately reached out to the council president to get some buy-in from the stakeholders from the downtown. And he said, get Natalie involved. Natalie Perina, which you said yes.
Yeah.
Sean Donnelly, who's the antique, and he was just too busy. I talked to him and reached out, and he couldn't do it. Then I also reached out to Deidre Wazinski, because she's on the AOD, another nonprofit downtown, and an architect. So that you want to call it ad hoc, we met one time.
That wasn't my question, and I'm not asking about that. How about being case specific? I just never, I've been here, what, 40 years? I've never heard that term used here in this board, and I couldn't find it anywhere in this language. So I don't know what it is, I've never heard it.
Right.
And I just want to know what's about.
Well, the MLUL does allow, as long as it doesn't violate the Open Public Meetings Act, an ad hoc committee can be made up by a board. I know in Summit, for example,
Where is it? I couldn't find it.
Well, it's really not in the MLUL,
Okay,
but it is acceptable under the local government, under the local government 48-1 which is.
Okay, so now it's acceptable. How does it happen? Does Art make it happen? Does the mayor make it happen? I just, mechanically, I don't know how it works.
Oh, I just made it happen.
Well, in this case, the board, Michael is authorized as the board planner, as I am as the board attorney. Michael is authorized to, undertake what may be needed to fully inform himself and inform the board of the issues that impact on a board's determination. So in acting in that capacity, that's what he did. It might be something where for example, if I have a major, sometimes whether I like it or not, it's not voluntary. Another attorney may get involved in a particular type of case because of a particular type of legal issue.
I'm still not, I'm Irish, it takes me a while to start this stuff to take in.
Well, I've got a lot of Irish in me too. I understand. I'm not, there's nothing.
Could I say, let's have an ad hoc committee?
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah, we did that.
Well, it would be best to have the board itself set up an ad hoc committee of, as I say, 3 or less. I am not particularly, as I say, in some towns, they have an ad hoc committee for everything.
Yeah, well, the committees.
That's a mess.
I get
Right.
committees.
And, if you want to have an ad hoc committee in a particularly difficult or controversial matter, that might be appropriate. But just always remember that the local Open Public Meetings Act sits over your shoulder in terms of you have a committee with more than 3 people.
I'm having trouble absorbing this. An ad hoc committee, is that set up to be an advocate for an applicant, or should it be somebody, our committee is looking at it?
It's for the board. It's for the board's benefit.
That's where I'm going with this. And I'm not comfortable with that happening without us knowing about it.
Well, let's face it, these were exigent circumstances.
No, they're not. They're gonna build a sign, I don't give a damn, it takes them 6 months to build that sign. That's existing. I'm familiar with those situations, like the burning down buildings. This was not a burning down building, this was a sign application. Now, I don't want to talk case specific, but in the future, I want to know how this works. And I'm just not quite absorbing it, that none of us knew about it until we saw it on our report. And where'd that come from?
Is the mechanics of it, like, we left that board meeting saying, giving you the responsibility to work with the applicant.
Right.
And you made your decision that the best way to do that was
Get
to
more eyes on it.
Get more eyes on it.
Exactly.
Exactly what it
And
is.
so just so I understand, whatever that committee comes up with, you're responsible.
the committee comes up, they're gonna, McNally's gonna come and be an advocate for it, she like, the advocate come. In that case, Deidre was out of the country, so she wrote a letter. And Randy generally supported it, but he wasn't gonna come as council president to a zoning board meeting. So the idea was to tell the community, we should get some eyes on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that, frankly, dealing with my office is not really inclusive to the stakeholders.
No,
of the town.
it makes sense to me, it just want, just
And-
the mechanics of it.
Right.
You're responsible, because
I
the
think-
board.
And I didn't go to the mayor
Well, he's
because the mayor already
informed by
saw it.
Yes.
And the output, and the design was not with the board liking. So the mayor already went through this with the applicant. And the first go round went over like a lead balloon with the board.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who's next? Council president.
Yeah, yeah. No.
I mean, from my perspective,
It makes
okay,
sense.
the mayor's out. Now who do you go to? Who's next in command? Council president.
You're informed by the committee, but not bound by anything it says.
Yes,
right.
and you're.
At the end of the day,
Okay.
you answer to us.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Just as I have to.
You saw what seemed to, you did what you thought was the best thing possible to perform the task that you were given.
To give the applicant some meaningful direction, get more eyes on it.
Okay.
Now, the board didn't like the second go-around, so didn't like what the ad hoc committee thought was acceptable. You don't have to.
Don't have to, but I'm just,
We had an ad hoc committee a couple of years ago, not
Yeah.
to cut you off. It was residential zoning.
Right.
that's the.
Yeah,
I just, a
I was
lot of
there,
boards
Mike
have them.
Levy,
Or-
Deirdre,
affordable
Mike,
housing.
Frank Walls.
I understand that. This was site specific.
Yeah.
And I just,
We have one for the Brookside, for the flooding. The floodplain committee was all ad hoc.
yeah, but that wasn't us.
Kirk, you on that?
I was,
Yeah, Eric was on it.
yeah, that wasn't us. And that was formed, I believe, by the mayor and council.
I don't know who formed it.
I'm pretty sure
I
it
think
was.
Kevin, I don't know.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that we as a board, if something like that is going to get formed, that we know about it before we see it. I just don't think things should be formulated without coming before our chairman and our board. It's appeared out of nowhere, and I just, mechanically, I have a problem. Look, I'm a procedure guy, I always have that. I mean, I start with A and go down to Z. So I got a problem when you get out of line. But that came out of nowhere. I wasn't familiar with it, never heard about it, got designated, and here we are. Now, I'm not throwing rocks, I just want to know mechanically how this goes going forward.
Well, just say ad hoc, you know, in the land is essentially informally, you know, I'm being,
Temporary.
you
What's
know,
as needed?
for this circumstance only.
Yeah.
As needed. You got
I
the
get that.
specific.
Matter of fact,
Yes,
I
as needed.
did look up the Latin, so I kind of know. But who determines as needed? Who designates the people who are on it? Where the Board of Adjustment, any other planning board? Does that come to the board to say, let's make an ad hoc committee, or does it be formed by everybody attorney or by me, and shows up?
Well, when you delegate, I guess, you know, this is just my understanding of local government law. When you delegate certain responsibilities to a professional has a certain amount of discretion to, you know, inform himself, thereby informing the board or the commission or whoever he's working for of the circumstances by forming a committee. So it's not that unusual. I know.
I've been here 40 years, it's unusual.
Well,
I've been
in
practicing local government law for 36, and it's
In 18
happens
years,
all the time.
we've only had, I think, 1 or 2 redos on applicants in 18 years I've been here.
Yeah, I believe, that's what I'm saying, it's unusual. I just know mechanically, if we're gonna do this again, how do you do it? That's really what I'm asking. If you're gonna do it again, how do you do it?
Maybe it's just one more sentence that we said, because I remember we said, we don't like it, come up with something else.
Yeah.
Maybe we should say, and while you're doing that, why don't you consult, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's just one more sentence that needs to be said, so we know that's gonna happen.
And who's
I think
on?
what the problem is, I felt uncomfortable, I think you did too,
You're very
that the day of the meeting, I was getting emails of letters saying, you know, the letter, here it is, you know, we really want this to happen. And we kind of felt like, I have to go vote on this tonight.
I didn't see those letters. In the future, anytime you get such a letter, please send it to me immediately. That's no different than what our buddies at the hospital did.
Well, that's what I think, I don't know about,
No.
how you felt, because that's how I felt. But I think to stop that in the future is that when we say, go find something else, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
so we know that this could happen, you know?
Who's gonna be on
Yeah, maybe there's another discussion, the next step, but I think that's what it was. We felt
I just
real-
don't want to get, I don't want anybody to get the impression it was some dastardly act.
Well, I think the problem here was Ed Allard, who isn't here, I discussed it with him, but I didn't discuss it with the board. I said, Ed, I'd love to have you in the committee to look at this. And he goes, I can't, I'm on the board. So the problem was, Rich, I should have said immediately, okay, I'm gonna go X, Y, and Z to get more eyes on this, so that they can get more input from stakeholders, residents in town. I'd love to do it all by myself, but I don't think it's appropriate. That's where I was coming from. I
I
thought,
got no problem with that, I just think this board is gonna have an ad hoc committee, you ought to know about.
and that's why I'm saying, if it ever happens
Probably
again.
it is, to be honest.
If it ever happens again, if they say, okay, Cole, deal with this, I'm gonna immediately say, okay, me dealing with it in 2 weeks, and that fast turnaround, I'm gonna immediately call X, Y, and Z, is the board cool with that? And the board, that's something, I discussed it with Ed at the meeting, just joking around, but I didn't say it to the board, and that's my fault.
I'm not looking at fault, I'm looking at procedure.
Right, I understand. I just want to make sure you knew there wasn't any, we didn't cross any lines.
I'm not even going there, I just went on procedurally.
Yeah.
If it's gonna happen again, I think we ought to know now.
Yeah, it's fair. Sure, it's fair.
The other thing.
I mean, even if this is an idea that pops in your head the next day, I mean, maybe there's a way you can communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not hard to find.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Lesson learned.
Okay.
Maybe, maybe an email, or, maybe, or you can ask me. I mean,
Well, I was just, it was Memorial Day weekend, and we had to get something back literally in 2 weeks.
Well, you know what?
And I was all fixated on trying to get some eyes on this. I wasn't thinking
I
what
don't
you
go
were
with that
saying.
exigent stuff. Things don't get, we've had stuff go on more than 2 weeks, and the planning board hasn't gone for months. I mean, to me, it's not a building burning down. If it takes another 2 weeks, well, okay. I mean, again, my world is different. It's pretty immediate.
Right.
But I follow procedures. That's all I'm saying.
Understood. I mean, I think the fact that, I understood they had caucused with, as we all know, I guess they caucused with the mayor, and I mean, we weren't getting any particular pressure, but I know that they were anxious it seemed that they were anxious to move it forward.
Well, everybody's anxious to move things forward. We hear that all
Yeah,
the
I
time.
think we gave them a slot. We said, we're gonna hear you next month.
Right.
That was the charge.
Right.
Come back next month for
Because at one
something
point they
new.
wanted
So I
a
think
special
that
meeting.
was the
Yeah,
time.
but if they can't be prepared in a month, then they can ask to go another month. I mean, that's not our problem.
I agree.
Yeah, that's all. And I'm not castigating anybody, I'm very procedure oriented. If things get out of whack, I get a little bit upset.
You notice how big his vocabulary gets since he wore a suit?
You won't see this again.
That's nice, sir.
I get word off.
Oh, man. You know what you sound like.
I'll be back in my days.
Yeah, okay. You know what I'm talking about.
It's always good that somebody's watching that, Rich, so, I understand completely. It's good that you're that vigilant. I understand completely. I'm very glad to know we have that.
Well, I can be a nuisance, I know that. So
No, not at all.
Makes sense to ask. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That's it. It was, I think it was the right call on your part to bring other eyes to it, for one.
No, but Rich is
Yeah,
right.
but you're right. You're right.
It's no big deal to put it, I gave you guys an email on the stormwater stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I just
Yeah.
gave you an email.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's not like you just get a group email, bing a bang a boom.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
understand.
it came out of nowhere.
How'd that go?
What's that?
The stormwater.
Terrible.
God.
Well, when I say terrible, is the rules which are in effect right now. You have to design, and I'm glad Greg is sitting here because he's gonna get smacked in this thing. That should be approved. You have to design now the stormwater runoff for the projected storms from 2099, 73 years in the future. Not the storm, just say it's 1.2 inches of an hour, and 2-year storm is 3 inches an hour, right? Not in 2099, it's not. You have to do a factor of like 1.8 to that. There's a projection chart with multipliers. So essentially, your quantities are going to go up dramatically because now you have to design for quote projected storms that are projected for the year 2099. I'm not making this up. I had that webinar on this literally yesterday, and that's what it was about, using what NOAA charts and all these new tables. And then they were talking about legacy projects, which were projects that were basically grandfathered and all the steps you have to go through. But it's very, I've never heard of projected increase in stormwater you have to design for. 73 years out.
I have to call the state of New Jersey. Nobody knows what it's gonna be like. We could be that drought condition by then.
Yeah. So I'm glad you heard
We're gonna
that.
be underwater.
I didn't hear it.
The ice caps will have melted by then.
Or we'll be at snowbound.
Yeah.
Still an air have to deal with that one.
So it's the flood hazard elevation has gone up, but they radically, in my opinion, changed the stormwater regs. All this projected, and the DMPs, which is the best management procedures, have all been updated to further define this. It just means that the quantities that have to be treated now or detained are much greater.
No place to put it.
That's my concern.
Yeah, no place to put it.
I just wrote a paragraph on this in a report coming out.
Because you can't even dig a deep hole to fill up water.
Regarding this. So I'm concerned about it. And there's nothing we can do about it. It doesn't matter where you are. There's no like EA1s, urban centers, you're exempt. The only people that are really exempt is the DOT on some of the roads. I swear. Road projects, if they're publicly done, there's exemptions for them. Other than that, it's challenging.
When does that go into effect?
Right now,
It's in effect.
July 17th, as soon as it was published. The minute that thing was published, it's immediately at full tilt in effect.
Publication.
From publication, correct. And there's mandatory training because every municipality, you need to have a certified engineer that reviews the plans, the land development plans. In Somerville, I'm in, so I have to keep my certification. So the DEP came out and said, oh, we consider this a substantial change in the rules, therefore you're obligated to get all the training we see fit, because if you don't get the training, you lose your
So
certification.
what do we have to do? You had that little cartoon thing that nobody can make work. Do we have to look at that again?
Maybe, but they're hammering the design engineers and the review engineers on this issue to make sure it's addressed.
Yeah, because we tried that little cartoon and
Right.
couldn't quite do it.
There was 566 attendees at this webinar.
One for each municipality.
566. Yeah, it's.
At least you got all the examples.
And there's this weird thing, some of the check questions are incredible. If a developer builds a road for a municipality, development on it, and the municipality accepts the road, it doesn't qualify. The municipality has to build the road. You should see the checks. Well, what's the difference? Who cares who built it? The regs make a huge distinction on this.
If the developer built is gonna be cheaper,
It's just.
more cost efficient.
It's just something to deal with, but now you gotta do all the stormwater map, you still have to do the calcs for today and the projected. I don't know why you're doing, so now you're doing all the calcs for, on the same design, twice.
It's called government.
Government by its nature is inefficient. The higher the level of government, the more inefficient it becomes.
Yep.
Your principle.
No, it's the air principal. I said that at the council meeting. One time. The people flipped. They were insulted. The bureaucrats were insulted when I said that. Oh, well. As the great Nina Simone said, sometimes it just bees that way.
And somebody had, it was an interesting chat. Someone wrote, well, the state's about 90% built out. How are we gonna fix things on it? Is there any thought about going back? Radio silence. You know.
Look what's happening here. We're getting built up. Big time. I mean, I have it on my job. You know? I'm 90% built up. We just better have enough money when we are so that the town doesn't have to take us over.
So when I get some more information, I'll email the board to make sure you guys have all this information.
Should understand it.
Yeah, you gotta understand it, it's because some think where's this stuff coming from?
How small a project does it affect?
If you have more than 1 acre of disturbance, you're sucked into it.
Okay.
Or a quarter acre of the road surface. So even if.
Road surfaces, parking lots?
Yeah. So even if you are disturbing an acre but not doing any more impervious coverage, you're still locked in. That's how Greg is locked in. He's actually has less, another project he's doing, he's actually taking out the improvement coverage, is actually going down, but the disturbance is over an acre. Some people have a hard issue with that.
What do you call a disturbance, Mike?
It's anything that you're disturbing the soil with. If you're going to be ripping up, demolishing 3 acres, you're definitely over an acre.
Okay.
Well, that's not 1 square foot of this town that hasn't been disturbed at one point in the last 200 years.
Right. So that's literally, even if you put back less improvement coverage, you're still obligated because you disturbed over an acre. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting, because I disturb the ground all the time. I dig a grave, I take out 6 cubic yards, and put back 4.
Hey, we should fill it in
It's been called a lot of stuff. I like that.
I'm going to adjourn. Get in trouble.
I call it subterranean low-income housing. So any other business can be put on?
I've heard nothing further on the Bell case, so.
Right. It's coming.
Just wanna advise you, nothing to report.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look at move for adjournment?
I'll move.
Move? Second, all in favor? Good night.
See you all in September, my goodness.
Till 2023.